Okay, looks like we are live. I am Annette. I'm with COVID Recovery Iowa. COVID Recovery Iowa is a peer-to-peer counseling service funded through a FEMA grant because of the pandemic. All 50 states have been declared a disaster area, so that allowed us, the state of Iowa, to get the funds for the grant. Currently goes through June 8th. Today, we are talking with Carol from Iowa State Extension on prioritizing our bills. So Carol, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do there, and then you can go right into your PowerPoint if you'd like.
We want to welcome you to Better Understanding Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. Human Sciences Extension Programming and Family Finance, really building a strong Iowa. And that's what we're talking about today, because regardless of what we've experienced this past year or what we're moving into in 2021, we want to look at the importance of financial well-being. And we know that from our family, our children, that well-being is really important. Sometimes we don't understand or realize the research and information behind financial well-being. So let's take a look at that first. There's actually 4 elements of being financially well, and it starts with the understanding of how we define it. The first element is I want to be financially secure. And simply for me to do that as an individual, as a leader of a family, is you answer the question, do I have control over my day-to-day, month-to-month finances? Am I paying all my bills on time and in full? And then I look at financial security to the future. Can I possibly absorb any financial shocks, meaning a loss of job, reduced hours, perhaps some kind of an emergency that is very costly that we have to fund and didn't plan on? The next level of understanding our financial well-being is looking at financial freedom of choice. So right now in the present, do I have the freedom to make choices to enjoy life? If we want to go out to eat or want to go on a family vacation, can we fund that and still pay our bills for day to day and month to month? And can we still handle a financial shock? And then that last area of financial well-being, that last element, is freedom of choice in the future. Do I have extra funds to put back for future goals? So let's dig deeper into understanding financial security just over day to day and in the present. So there's 3 things we're going to focus on and relate to when money might be short. And those 3 important steps that we're going to learn, or takeaways, are learning better understanding how to prioritize which bills to pay first, understanding how we can make a short-term spending plan, even if we've never had a budget before, and the importance of not ignoring bills, having those conversations and knowing how to ask for help and who to ask for. So I'm going to challenge those that are participating this morning to think about, and if they would, in the chat box, add what they think, or they're going to get to vote on what they think is essential when they think about the word prioritizing or choosing essential bills. And the items that you have to choose from, and we'd ask that you just pick what you think are the top 3, would be, would you pay your cell phone bill, groceries? Is it the credit card, rent and mortgage? Is it purchasing a lottery ticket? Is it paying that car insurance or medicine? If you had to vote, what would be the top 3 important bills? In asking this of other participants of the classes that we've been teaching on Money Smart Adults, we know that your responses are going to vary because each one of us has different needs and different situations. So when we have these money conversations about limited amount of money and bills and how we're going to pay this, it's really important that we have some parameters, that we have criteria, that we're going to learn that identifying priority expenses are really important, and that it does reduce our financial stress. When we have the conversations about prioritizing, it helps us feel better about our situation, and it puts our mind in a different place where we can start establishing control over the next steps of what bills we're actually going to pay. So
We have one response so far, and it was mortgage, groceries, and insurance.
Mortgage, groceries, and insurance. Annette, if you would get a chance to vote, what would be your three?
Definitely mortgage, medicine probably, and then groceries.
Thank you.
Oh, and here's another one. It says rent,
Yes.
groceries, and medicine.
Yes. So because of situations, it's really important that we think about planning and that we're going to prioritize. And it's going to be based upon our family needs. What we're going to learn in better understanding prioritizing bills is that we're not only just going to look at the bills and when they're due, but also better understand consequences. What might happen if that bill would not be paid on time or fully? So the four categories that we're looking at is the consequence of, would this prevent me from earning an income? Would this in any way at all impact my employment? What about jeopardizing my shelter, either my ability to continue to rent where we are, or would we also be in jeopardy of losing our home and the mortgage? Would there be impact to health or our ability to live independently? What about the loss of an asset, like the loss of our car or the loss of our house? So we're going to learn a little bit more about paying attention to those consequences, or just what you answer the question, what might I lose? But also we're going to look at how do we make choices in addition to that, do I pay it in full or not? Is it partial payment? Is it paid late? Are there other options for myself as an individual or as a family? A great tool that we like to share in working with our clients and prioritizing bills is the one that you see on the screen that allows you to think through those those different categories of things I need for housing, things that I would need to keep my job on the left-hand side, insurance, obligations that I have to pay like a credit card, child support, and you actually go through there and rank those. So because with Iowa State Extension and Family Finance, we do provide consumer coaching and personal finance counseling. There was a couple that I worked with, Shelley and Walter. They had unplanned expenses because Shelley's work hours had actually been reduced, but they did receive the $600 stimulus payment during this point in time. So their first step was to list all their bills, just like what you see on the screen. And then we had a conversation about what would I lose if I didn't pay the rent, mortgage, or the property tax. So you can see on that tool, it takes you through the conversation. If you would miss the mortgage, you would perhaps have to pay additional late fees. It could put you at risk of possible a strain again on your relationship. And so they had the conversation about that and decided to rank it as number one. And make sure that it was paid on time and in full. And so they went down through the list of all the bills that they had accumulated that was on the kitchen table. You can see they ranked number 2 on the left-hand side of transportation to make sure that car was ready to get to work. And they knew approximately that they would need to spend $70 that month. So they just went through all of their bills. You can see in the prioritizing tool that you have, the number 1 listed items are the things that are most important, with the larger number at the end being the lesser importance, or something they thought that they could negotiate. Well, one particular thing for this family, they kind of got caught up was, do we pay that phone bill that they had that was about $50, or were they going to pay for their car insurance? And so it was really interesting because they had never picked up the phone and asked for help or tried to negotiate a bill. And that's a really important, vital tool and skill that we want everyone to think about and practice and learn. And they did that. So they had the conversation with the phone company, and they learned that they could wait on paying that particular bill. There might be a late fee. They wouldn't lose any service for a 2-month period. So they could now better schedule and feel like those 2 bills were not competing at each other, and know that we do need to maintain our car insurance bill. That's really important for legal purposes. So that was a good conversation and skill at two different levels, wasn't it? Not only did they think through what the loss might be, but they also learned the importance of reaching out for help and asking those questions. So the next step then is really looking overall and comparing very simply, do we have balance of money coming in to our family? And is there enough money coming in that pays for all the expenses for that particular week, for that particular month? And in doing that, sometimes we forget that money coming in, we also have benefits. And benefits are examples of government stimulus funds. It could be SNAP in terms of those benefits that cover the expenses for food and other needs in that way. And then you look and you step back and you think, on this prioritized list that we just worked through, can I make sure that those essentials are paid for? The things, again, that keep us safe, that keep me employed, that keep us healthy, like our medical, our pharmacy expenses. And then what about obligations? Do I have obligations for child support? That is important. And then that last step, after we've looked at income and those two first level expenses, we say, what kinds of adjustments do we need to make? A great tool to help us with that, again, that we'll share with you is a bill calendar, and it's fillable. So this is the one that I did with the family I worked with for the month of March. And you can see rent was due right away at the beginning of the month, or for them as their mortgage payment. And then you can see they had that debate between car insurance and cell phone that we just reviewed. But this fillable calendar is a great tool because it's visual. It lets us step back and look at what we think about what we think is called cash flow. So I have money coming in, money going out, but at what point am I at zero, that I have no funds in the checking or savings account? And that helps you make decisions on, do I need to pick up the phone and ask for the gas and electric bill? I'll have money to pay for it. I get paid every 2 weeks, but I'm not going to have it on the 26th. And you ask, can that be delayed 1 week, or permanently going forward? Can I change my due date for that particular bill? So all kinds of conversations and thoughts and troubleshooting can happen because we have worked on step one, looked at step two on money coming in, money going out, and thinking about how's it going to flow, and actually have a tool like a bill calendar. Well, we come to a point in time, though, too, that we step back and we say, there's just not enough money coming in to cover all the expenses. We have a expense cutting tool that we, again, look at these different categories and have a money conversation. What could change? Cutting expenses, if needs to happen immediately, if you find an immediate loss of job or immediate loss of income, or you found an emergency that is in the dollar amount beyond what you can afford for that particular month or the pay period that you're in. So this cost-cutting expense example that you see on the page, these are just 3, I think, of about 10 different categories. I'm going to allow you to open up the chat again and tell us what would be the number one thing that you would cut if you had an need and found that you lost your job or your hours were cut. What kinds of expense could you cut immediately? So if you would add that comment into the chat box, that would be appreciated. Other examples while you're doing that I have from families that I've worked with is that they would immediately look at their cell phone plan. They would look at what they're spending to watch television.
That's what I was going to say. Cable is probably
the cable plans. I live out in the country and we don't have cable. We have an antenna, and we're also a farm family, so we work at night too, and we just don't watch a lot of television. So that was a conversation we had to have, was because we just didn't, there's other forms of watching too now. So those are hard decisions, but it's what you do. You sit down as of parents, of guardians, and then with the kids, and see what you really can do. Do we have anything, Annette, in the chat?
The one I see is home energy expenses. They would look at.
Good. What you would do, I used to work for a utility company. That's a great one. You can have a free home energy audit, and usually utility companies will come out and do that for you. And I've climbed up into the house, into the attic, and measure how much insulation is there. Look at window treatments. Look at the furnace. How old is it? How efficient is it? You also consider what you're setting your thermostat at, both during the winter periods and in the summertime too. So home energy audits are great, not just for if you own your home, but also if you're a renter. So that would be a great thing to
The other
add.
one is streaming services.
Perfect, just like what we talked about earlier. And again, those also include music, movies, the whole gamut. So great examples of things that you would cut immediately that would not be a necessity and an essential expense that you would want to cover with those very few dollars that you have coming in. And that third and last important step that we in Extension Family Finance, we help coach families through is not ignoring the bills. It's really easy to, I call it, you fall in a ditch and you just go, wow, how did we get here? And I don't feel like I have enough energy to crawl back out again, or I just feel overwhelmed. And we really want to give you encouragement that don't stay down there. There's lots of people that want to coach you and answer those questions and challenge you to get back up and think about what you can do. And every time we do that, when we ask for help, when we think about what we can do, that we are finding that we're establishing control in our financial situation. And when we continue to build those important pieces of control, it allows us to relax, we're less anxious, and we actually see more opportunities in front of us to make important changes. So just like we talked about earlier, you want to cancel that non-essential spending to the bone if possible. You want to negotiate some of those expenses, those bills, be honest with them, say, hey, it's going to be a little bit late. Please don't charge me the fee. Make a commitment on when you can pay it. Really keep in good communications. Write these agreements down. Follow up with an email. Hey, this is what we talked about, and I'm promising to do that. And keep a record of your conversations with folks. And contacting anyone that you still do owe in terms of a creditor, and importantly, reach out for help. Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, we are part of the Iowa Concern Hotline. It's that 800 number you can call for all those pieces that you see there on the screen, not just financial. If you have legal concerns, feeling stressed over money matters or other situations, and we are here to help you think about of what the situation is that's particular for you. What are the resources, other places that we can refer, and great resources that we have. So I've already shared with Annette many of these resources. We'll make them available to you, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Remember, in summary, we've really focused on 3 things very quickly. There's more to learn though on how do I prioritize my bills? How do I really make a short-term spending plan, especially if I've never had a budget? We will help you do that. Great, fun online tools I'll teach you about, and the importance of not ignoring the bills. Okay, you want to stay connected with people. How do I learn more? Please join us for a Money Smart. This is a series. It's being offered over the lunch hour. So if you work, we can hope that you could take your lunch hour with us. 3 days, April 7, 14, and 21. These are on Wednesdays. And we're going to do the prioritizing bills even deeper. The second one, we're going to look at managing debt. And the third one, on the 21st, we're going to look at building credit, rebuilding your credit, looking at credit reports and credit scores. And again, this is all free. It's a Zoom. And please join us if that at all works, but you do need to register for the class. So that's a quick review of what we have, Annette. I guess if you want to, I don't know if I can go back or I'll stop sharing. What are additional questions that your audience might have this morning for me?
I don't have any other additional questions in there. I love your review, and thank you for sharing this, because I didn't realize that Iowa State Extension offered this, so that's good. The don't ignore your bills. I'm glad you pointed that out because I had someone that couldn't pay their medical bill, so they ignored it, which just, made the problem even worse in the end because they ended up owing more. So yeah, don't ignore those bills. I love how you walk people through how to think through how to prioritize. Because like you said, my priority is going to be different than your priority and from somebody else. I hadn't thought about if I don't pay my car insurance, well, then how can I get to my job? And, so there's lots of things to think through. So thank you for going through that. Is there any last advice you can give parents during this pandemic? Anything else you might want to say about bills and all of that?
Sure. When we're anxious, our kids know we're anxious. And I remember those days with little ones. And so, yeah, there's parts of the money conversation they can be a part of. And I am choosing to not spend money on movies right now so that, and you explain that to your kids. This is a choice we're making because we want to be healthy and make sure that we have this nice apartment to live in and that make sure that we can have good food for you to eat. And so it's those simple conversations, but it's not that you have to, it's that you choose. And when you're making that simple statement to kids, that does reduce their anxiety too. They understand that mom and dad are smart or their parents or guardians are smart and they're making smart decisions based on information. And so we don't realize that we're passing on not only that emotional concept of stability, but also that you're teaching them at the same time some very important life skill principles that about choice and how do I make choice. And you want to make good decisions and good choices with this concrete, unbiased information like what you had this morning, as well as it needs to be based on your family and your family situation. So we make choices in that way, and you're teaching them a very valuable learning lesson right now. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Bring them in and let them learn too. That's great. Thanks, Carol. So the 800 number to reach out to you guys again, can you give that to us?
Sure. I will go back and share my screen again and just pull that up on the screen so that you see it. And
there you go.
It is, so it's all there can you see that?
Nope, I can't see it, but I can it's 800-447.
Here we go.
There we go. 1985. You can reach out to them. And if you want to reach out to COVID Recovery Iowa, you can reach us at 800-447-1985 or 844-775-9276. Thanks again, Carol. We appreciate this.
Thank you.
Have a good day.